Welcome back to our 32 for 32 NFL preview series. I am Michael Lipinski. I am joined by Brett Halpern, and we're matching again.
Yeah.
For the Atlanta Falcons. Maybe they should have talked to us about uniforms first, because what they came up with for the Falcons' new uniforms is god-awful.
Fugly.
Unbelievably bad. Who thought that this thing was a good idea?
I guess the only thing I have not spoken to... If you're from Atlanta, what are you, an Atlantan?
Sure. Yeah. Atlantean?
Atletian?
I'd go Atlantean.
Either way, I have not spoken with someone from Atlanta because I know the ATL, it's a big saying. That's like a big deal. So I wonder if there is a sense of pride that it's now front and center on the uniform. I'm not saying it's the prettiest looking thing, but again,
it's gotten a lot of hate on the social media world from people in Atlanta on Facebook groups that it looks arena footballish. That they could have just went back to the classic look.
Yeah,
I call it the Deion Sanders look, and they did
even the Super Bowl 33 look.
Right, exactly.
Would have been perfectly fine with me.
Yeah,
they sometimes. And particularly the one where it's the fade color.
That's the red, which I think is actually their better look. I think they look better with a red jersey, to be honest.
See, I'm okay if they went back to like the Steve Bartkowski era.
Yeah.
Red. I'm cool with that too.
Absolutely.
But this is just no good. It's just no good.
We talked about Tampa Bay yesterday improving their uniform.
Yeah.
And taking a nod to the past. I don't know what this is. The only kind of thing that I thought was neat was the helmet. They went with the chrome face mask, which was okay. And the enlarged Falcon bird logo, which they had when they debuted this, months ago. But now out on the field, they didn't even do that. So,
when I was little, I'm going to say like younger than 10 years old, I saw the Falcons logo. I did not even know where the head of the bird was. I got very confused with it.
And on that note,
I'm just saying I'm saying when I was young.
Yes.
So, yes.
We both don't like it. It's awful.
It's not good.
They could have done so much more.
2 thumbs down.
2 thumbs down. They could have brought back the headless Falcon logo.
They could have done many things. They could have just went with like a practice jersey with mesh. I'd have been fine with that.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Let's get into it. Let's get into the Atlanta Falcons. 2019, 7-9, second place by default in the NFC South, and they have a couple acquisitions here that are interesting. We talked about it when we talked LA Rams and Todd Gurley. And whether or not he has enough left in the tank. It's going to be interesting. Your take here.
So for 4 of the names there, the best way to view them is that they're either injured or underwhelming former first-round picks. And specifically, I'm referring to Dante Fowler, Todd Gurley, Hayden Hurst, who the Falcons traded acquired from the Ravens. Frankly, I think the Ravens got a pretty good deal back. It got a second-round pick for him, even though he hasn't done much. And Laquan Treadwell, formerly of the Vikings, out of Ole Miss, who was a first-round pick. These are guys who obviously have talent because, and with Todd Gurley, this is more of an injury issue, which we'll talk about. But I just don't think any of them have ever, aside from Gurley, ever lived up to the hype. Even Dante Fowler, who I think doesn't always show up in the stats and it has more hurries and sacks. Even then, I think for a third pick of the draft, never even lived up to that hype. So I think those are the main acquisitions, really, and all of them. It's a new surrounding, so you're hoping that they can come in and contribute. I know they're bringing in Dante Fowler, hoping he'll do a little bit better than Vic Beasley. Hayden Hurst is there to replace Austin Hooper. So it should be interesting. You're on mute again, buddy.
I'm talking again. We're muted. I should remember not to press that button. What I was saying to myself.
I should call you. I think your new nickname is going to be like the mutator.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to shut up.
What I was saying to myself that nobody heard because I was muted was that if I'm Matt Ryan, I'm not the happiest camper with what they brought in, the ownership, the GM brought in for me in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, I feel as if you replace what left with not as shiny toys.
Yes. Let's talk about those who have left.
Yes. It's a big list. It
was one of the larger lists of departures in the league this year so far to date for this year program.
Yeah, look, I think some of I'm not going to go through everybody. Some of the more notable names, Vic Beasley, former first-round pick, really had one good year and then sort of fizzled out. Devondre Campbell, middle linebacker. Adrian Claiborne, who's more now of a rotational defensive end. Devontae Freeman, who a few years ago signed a really large contract with the Falcons, sort of fizzled out. Justin Hardy, the receiver. Austin Hooper got a lot of money to go to Cleveland. Ty Sambralo was one of the tackles. And Desmond Trufant went up to Minnesota as one of their starting cornerbacks. So yeah, it's a big group. This team they underperformed the last few years. It's time to mix things up a little bit. I mean, I know they kept their coaching staff, but you definitely need to shake things up a little bit when you're consistently at a level of mediocrity.
We talked the other day about Rich Kotite when we were talking Seattle Seahawks, and you asked me would I rather have Pete Carroll or Rich Kotite, and I had to think about it for a second. I wonder if Dan Quinn is almost in the Richie the K type territory with the way that he does things.
In what regard?
As far as gets off to fast starts,
out
down the end, or vice versa. Very mediocre coach, if you ask me.
I mean,
it's not right to compare many people other than Chip Kelly to Rich Kotite, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, look, there's a few that I have in mind as well. But look, he did have them up 28-3 in the Super Bowl.
He did.
So,
he did.
And look, you think about it. I mean, as relates to your Eagles, the year after they were 7 yards away from defeating the eventual Super Bowl champions. So, I mean, they didn't fall off too much the year after.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But I mean, the last 2 years. Yeah. Fortunate for you guys, you came through. The last 2 years, they definitely have been more mediocre.
Let's talk Falcons draft.
Yeah.
Again, not big on numbers.
Yeah.
They went for the most part for the bigger schools. What's your take here? I know what your thought is on Sterling Hoffrichter, actually.
Sterling Hoffrichter. Well, look, he's a punter. Syracuse. I hope he knows where the right aid is. Varsity Pizza I thought was really overrated.
Varsity Pizza was the biggest crock of shit that I've ever had in my life. And shame on us for thinking, great pizza in Syracuse, New York. But, it's New York, so it's not the same as a New Jersey pie or New York City pie or a Philly pie.
I didn't feel particularly welcomed.
No, definitely
not. No, it wasn't very comfortable. But look, nice campus, a lot of stairs. I actually, you didn't like it. I really like the stadium or the dome. It's really loud, but nevertheless, they drafted a punter. To me, I always would, if I was a GM, I would always save for undrafted free agents, your kicker and your punter, or just regular free agency. I would never waste a draft pick on a punter or a kicker. But I'll tell you, I did like very much AJ Terrell, their first round draft pick, a cornerback from Clemson. Really good length. If you watch the first half of this past year's national championship game, you're gonna be really excited. Did a great job against the LSU receivers. He kind of got torched in the second half, but then again, everybody got torched by LSU eventually. And if you're, at some point, as we always talk about, if the defensive line doesn't get home, I don't care how good you are as a corner or safety, you can't defend a guy for 5-6 seconds. So, AJ Terrell, I think, has a lot of upside moving forward. Marlon Davidson is a guy who really came on towards the later end of the season. Some people argue he benefited from having Derek Brown along his defensive line, but I think he himself is very good. He has a little bit of positional flexibility. He can play end, but I think he's better suited as a quick, penetrating 3-technique defensive tackle. You pair him with Grady Jarrett on passing downs, that's a really good interior defensive line. Matt Hennessy from Temple, he's a local Jersey. I believe he's from Don Bosco. And I think he's going to be expected to start. He's more of a center, but I think he's going to come in and compete at guard initially. And then, I did like Jalen Hawkins from California. I thought that that was good value in the 4th round. I thought he was more of a late 2nd, early 3rd rounder. Is really good technique and had a lot of production for California. That defense was pretty good. Then obviously you have Mr. Hofrichter from Syracuse. Good punter. Whatever.
Good punt.
Shitty pizza, whatever.
Good punter.
We didn't go to the barbecue place though.
Well, I didn't know there was a barbecue place.
Yeah, they're actually, so it's not on campus, but in the city of Syracuse, they have one of the best barbecue places. And meanwhile, people from Atlanta are watching this what the hell are these guys talking? Why are we talking about Syracuse? Yeah. I've never been to Atlanta. I actually really want to go.
Yes, I do too. I would love to go. I've been to Atlanta. I haven't been to Atlanta for a sporting event. The one time I was in Atlanta, I was supposed to go to a Phillies game when they were still at Turner Field, and the flight got in late, so I didn't go. So I went to the Buffalo Wild Wings across the street from the hotel, sat down at the bar, looked around. I said, "Hey, can you turn on the Braves?" And he's like, "Excuse me?" I said, "Yeah, the Braves. The Braves are playing the Phillies. Can you turn the game on?" "Yeah, we don't watch that much around here, but sure." I said, "Okay."
All right. Well, the Falcons are kind of the biggest deal.
I'd like to go see a Georgia Tech game.
Like to see a Georgia Tech game.
Beautiful looking stadium. Drove past it, gawked at it. Cool looking environment.
Yeah.
I'd love to go see Center Stage as well. Is that still around?
I don't know.
I think so. I think Ring of Honor runs it. Anyway, 4 key questions. You can listen to our take on wrestling and mixed martial arts on In the Fight. 4 key questions for the Falcons here. Is this the team that started 1-7 or finished 6-2? So the reverse Richie Coe type.
Yeah. I think they are closer to the team that finished 6-2, but I'm not going to say they are completely that 6-2 team. That's my answer. I thought they were good. I think this is a good team. I also think the problem is this division got really good. So it's going to be tough for them. Yeah. And by the way, we're going to have the end of this, not the end of this particular episode, towards the beginning of the regular season when we're done previewing each team, we're going to have an episode where we talk about each team's records and our predictions for the entire season. So make sure to check that out.
Is Todd Gurley an elite running back? I think we kind of touched on this here. We kind of touched on this a little bit on the Rams episode.
Yeah.
It's a shame what happened to him.
Yeah,
no.
My position is no. I need to see it again before I believe it. Right now, I'm not assuming. I'm operating on the assumption that he is no longer what he was.
He is leaking some serious oil, and you're looking to patch this thing and maybe get an additional year, maybe 2 out of him, and find a way that he works. I think this is a good one, Bo. Matty Ice, Bo. Is Matty Ryan still an elite quarterback? Was Matt Ryan ever an elite quarterback?
He was an MVP.
He was an MVP. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl.
Well, okay, but at least for one season, you have to say that Matt Ryan was an elite quarterback.
I agree. Look, I like Matt Ryan, and I joke here because there's a local Philadelphia sports radio host who just goes to town talking about Matt Ryan and Matty Ice and Germantown Academy and this prep school. Where he didn't go to Germantown? What's the other one?
He went to Penn Charter.
Penn Charter, that's it. Penn Charter, Bo. I nicknamed him Matty Ice back when he was a little kid. Bo, get me a Primo's hoagie. They're not a sponsor. Sorry. I like Matt Ryan. I don't think he was.
I think that I think one of the issues is Julio Jones getting a little older, who's still a premier talent, one of the best receivers in the league, but again, a year older. Calvin Ridley's really good. He's a really good Robin. We talked about that back when we did the Steelers with Juju Smith-Schuster. I think he's a good Robin. But the thing is, I think one of the key ingredients of this Falcons offense over the last several years, they always had 3 receivers. Now I don't think, and I'm not even touting Mohamed Sanu, who Mike and I both love because he's a Rutgers alum, but they don't have that third guy. Yeah, he is a really good player. Yeah, but they had Justin Hardy, they had some Taylor Gabriel, they've had different guys in and out of there, but now I just don't see that third receiver. And yeah, they had now they had Austin Hooper, now they have Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst needs to prove he can do it. He has the physical tools, but he hasn't shown that yet. Baltimore was a different kind of offense. So there's a lot of improvements, and you don't have a proven third wide receiver. You don't have a proven tight end. Those 2 things right there, I think, are an issue. And because of that, I don't know if Matt Ryan, even if he was an elite quarterback, because of the less options, he's not going to put up those kinds of numbers.
Let's move over to the defense. White excites you about this defense. That would be what excites you about this defense. Does White excite you as well? Is he a good player or is he retired?
Depends on which White we're referring to. Reggie White, he could be on any team ever, and he'd be really good. Trying to think of another one. Randy White was really good too for the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's true. Reggie White.
Yes, he was. I'm just saying there were other players with the last name White. Nevertheless, what excites me about, I really like the defensive backfield for this team. I think it's young, fast. They did lose Ricardo Allen for the season, but particularly AJ Terrell and Isaiah Oliver as their 2 corners. I think that's a really good tandem that should develop, and they should. I think the Falcons will enjoy having them over the next several years.
We will break down the Falcons record, as Brett alluded to, on our big NFL prediction show coming up at the end here of our 32 for 32 preview series. Falcons fans, want to win your share of $50K week 1 of pro football? Check it out down at the bottom. Thrive Fantasy, thrivefantasy.com. It's daily fantasy with player prop bets. They do all the research for you. You plug and you play. Use code SEC247, deposit $20, and get $20 or more. It is a great deal. Tell them Mike and Brett sent you. Follow us at GL Stand Show, and we will see you